Merrell Twins appropriating Asian culture again. They've appropriated Asian culture before, from the clothes they wear to the hairstyle, but now they're even doing it in a video game. Covert racism. Covert racism expresses racist ideas, attitudes or beliefs in subtle, hidden or secret forms. Often unchallenged, this type of racism doesn't appear to be racist because it is indirect behavior. Here are some charts I found showing the difference. Cultural appropriation. Here Vanessa shows her island on Animal Crossing.
So there are 3 different paths we can go. We can go to residence, my home, or straight ahead.
This feels
so
like
where
a game
would you like to go?
Let's go to straight ahead first.
Yeah, let's go. So over here, straight ahead is my Zen garden.
Oh wow, this is wonderful.
It's not crazy, but
no, you know, a lot of people make Zen gardens, but I like the way you did the path around the outside, and then you have this this water thing over here, which is just just like an infinity bucket down there.
You make a good point. This is new. I haven't seen this. This is the shrine. Oh, and then if you the shrine for what? Oh, for who?
For shrine stuff, just general shrining.
Yeah, just general. And if you go here to the entrance of our of my thing, whee! Little baby dolls.
those things like shoot into the sky. There we go. And eventually they come back down like a minute later. That's insane.
Yeah. So we can now go there.
It's pretty straightforward, but for some who still don't get it or see it, I'll explain. She creates a Zen garden. People have Zen gardens all the time, mostly Asians, mostly Japanese people, but we know she's obsessed with Asian, so of course she's going to have to include some type of Asian something in her island, and of course she thought a Zen garden wouldn't be so obvious, so Asian, that people would call her out on it. Well, no one would have, if you'd done your damn research.
But please, make sure you do all your research.
There is a specific way to set up a Japanese Zen garden, which originated in Japan, just in case you didn't know. Here are some examples of Japanese Zen gardens. And here are some examples of other people who studied and researched what Japanese Zen gardens are, and recreated their own in Animal Crossing. These are the main problems of her Zen garden. 1. First of all, because she has a past of appropriating Asian culture, why she would want to keep including and doing Asian things, I just don't understand. It just further proves how obsessed she is with Asians and our culture, that even in a video game, she has to include something Asian related. She couldn't even not included something, she just had to. This girl is still obsessed with Asians, and we see that loud and clear. 2. She put a effing tombstone in her garden thinking it was a shrine. All because it looked Asian. 3. She put a Japanese fishing boat flag as a decor in her house because it was Asian and has Asian letters in it. Okay, let's get to it. So the first thing, I pretty much ran it on that already. She just doesn't learn her lesson. As much as she says she educated herself on Asians and the discrimination Asians go through, we know she really didn't. That's why she keeps doing it. That's why I don't believe her or her sister when they're fighting for BLM movement. Cause they say they educated themselves on racism and BLM movement, but they said the same damn thing about racism against Asians and they still appropriate our culture. As you can see, this video of her appropriating Japanese culture with the tombstone was on June 16, 2020. And their fake apology video was December 7, 2018. So if she educated herself, why is she still doing this 2 years later? It's because they're still racist.
And I've taken it upon myself to educate myself about a lot of different cultures and what people have gone through and stuff. And I do realize that there have been things I said that could have been taken offensive. We've taken Asian American studies classes. I took Asian. Oh, as did I. We had two complete different. That was my second choice, and we learned a lot from that just with what people have to deal with here in America, not just Asian Americans. When I took that class, that's when I really realized a lot of things, even about myself, in Kpop and all this stuff. And it's just really, really sad. Like, I learned in college that Asian Americans get treated terribly. That we've learned so many things.
And it is racism. For all the thick-skulled people who still don't get it, it's called Fkin covert racism. One example of covert racism is cultural appropriation, which is racism. Cultural appropriation, the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another, and typically more dominant people or society. Am I using something sacred to another culture? Yes, they are. They are using a Japanese cultural tombstone for fun, for a video game. She included a Japanese-style tombstone as an accessory in her Zen garden. Ignorantly, it is a shrine.
This is wonderful.
It's not crazy, but
No, a lot of people make Zen gardens, but I like the way you...
Closer look at the tombstone. This is what Japanese tombstone looks like. Japanese-style tombstone. And here again where she says it's a shrine.
This is new. I haven't seen this. This is the shrine. This is the shrine. This is the shrine. This is the shrine.
For anyone ready to fight, a shrine and a tombstone are not the same thing. Shrine versus tombstone. A shrine is a holy or sacred place dedicated to a specific deity, ancestor, hero, martyr, saint, or similar figure of awe and respect, at which said figure is venerated or worshipped, while tombstone is a large, flat inscribed stone standing or laid over a grave. Not the same thing at all. As you can see, a tombstone is supposed to be near a grave. Is what she has in her island a graveyard? No, it's supposed to be a Zen garden. So why does she have a effing tombstone in her garden? It's because they didn't learn about the cultural meaning of it, before using it as their decor. And that's cultural appropriation. The Merrell Twins are Christians. That's why her sister kept asking her this.
The shrine for what? Oh, for who?
Just for shrine stuff.
Oh, for who? Oh, for who? Oh, for who?
Because a shrine is supposed to be for something holy, like a god, but they're Christian, so why would she have a shrine for another god? And she doesn't even answer, cause she doesn't even know what it is, and you can see she doesn't even care. That's why they all laugh.
Oh, for who?
Just for shrine stuff. Just general shrining.
Yeah, just general. And if you...
Again, to them, it's just a thing that looks Asian, literally. Even the guy who's with them says, just shrine stuff, just general shrining, as though shrines hold no cultural significance at all to the cultures that have them.
Just for shrine stuff, just general shrining.
Yeah, just general. And if you...
And they are a Christian, for anyone ready to argue.
Tell us about your religion. Oh, we're Christian. We're Christian. Are you guys religious? Yes. Yes.
What kind of church do you go to? A Christian church? Non-denomination.
They're Christian. That's why her sister was questioning her why she would have a shrine, another holy statue in her garden.
The shrine for what? Oh, for who?
And that's why she specifically asked, for who?
For who? For who? For who?
And it's not even an effing shrine. But they wouldn't know that because they are not Japanese, and they just put it in there because it looked Asian. Again, she literally just saw something that had Asian letters on it, and thought that she'd make an Asian garden and she needed all the Asian-looking things she could find, but didn't realize because they're so ignorant to not research that it was an effing tombstone. She could have just made an American-style garden. She didn't have to go Asian with it, mostly when they've been criticized in the past for desperately wanting to be Asian and using Asian culture as a trend. How does this help their case? It doesn't. It just makes them look even more desperate to be Asian and even more racist.
Cool. Over here's my Zen garden that I made. Bloop, bloop. Oh. They're bamboo dolls.
Oh, I don't know how to feel about that.
Here's my Zen garden. I need some more. I need more bamboo. Oh my gosh, look.
What?
Look, my bamboo trees are growing.
Oh, yay! Bamboo!
They're growing. Yay! So this is my bamboo garden.
Why are you pushing me?
I didn't mean to push you. Sorry. It's kind of small. I need to make it bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
This is cool.
So we go this way, and I guess we'll just follow the path.
And here she hangs a Japanese fishing boat flag in her house as decor.
And then, this is my house.
Wow. Oh.
That's not tire or gum. That's... What kind of art do you got going on in here? Don't listen. Don't judge. Okay? Yep.
These are Japanese fishing boat flags called Chiriobata. Literally translated as big catch flag, each rectangular flag bears an intricate design specific to the company or boat, typically involving bright colors and ocean motifs. Many of these flags can be seen in the coastal communities of Japan. The Shiogama Shrine in the Sendai region issues Tarobata to newborn infants, apparently as a jokey reference to the baby being a big catch. As you can see, this flag holds cultural meaning in Japanese culture and she's using it for her aesthetic, just so that her house looks and gives off an Asian vibe. Even her sister found it weird, and again she couldn't even answer.
What kind of art do you got going on in here? Don't listen. Don't judge. Okay? You're playing.
They are so obsessed that even in a game, she had to include and do something Asian related. She just cannot let it go. For anyone ready to fight that they're Asian, they are not Asian. No Asian would say this, mostly one that claims to be a brown Asian.
So, Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and like growing up, we didn't know that. Like, we didn't associate an Asian being that. Because that's just how it was just taught where we were. Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like.
Brown Asians include Filipinos, South and Southeast Asians, David says.
Growing up, we didn't know that. Like, we didn't associate an Asian being that. Like, we didn't associate an Asian being that.
They didn't associate Asian being that is in brown Asian, but yet they claim to be Filipino, which is a brown Asian. Still think they're Asian now? Because again, no Asian would say that.
Like, we didn't associate an Asian being that.
And no real Asian would say they were taught what Asians looked like either. So no, they are not Asian. This is cultural appropriation at its finest. Taking someone's culture, a significant cultural aspect of Japanese culture, and using it as decor, as an aesthetic. Is what you want to wear or do considered sacred to another culture? Yes, it is. They used a Japanese-style tombstone for decor. That is disrespectful towards Japanese people and their culture. It's the same thing if I decided on my island that I'm going to have a Native American room, and then included significant cultural aspects of Native American culture, to decor my home, just to make it look and feel Native American-esque. It's cultural appropriation, meaning it's racist. Time and time again they've shown how disrespectful they are towards Asians. Using our culture as their trends, their fashion, their aesthetic. Don't adopt sacred artifacts as accessories. She literally said that she educated herself on this, and that was 2 years ago, so why are they still doing it now?
And I've taken it upon myself to educate myself about a lot of different cultures and what people have gone through and stuff, and I do realize that there have been things I said that could have been taken offensive.
Meaning they didn't learn ST, or they did, but they just ignored it because they are that racist. They don't care. The fact that she didn't even take the time to find out what the statue was, and just put it into her game just because it looked Asian, and had Asian letters, shows that she was only doing it as an aesthetic, as a decor, not because she appreciated the culture. Because when someone appreciates something, they take the time to learn about it and research it, not just randomly including it, just cause it looked Asian. Also, appreciating a culture does not mean you can just put said culture's things into your house or a game as a decor, when it's not your culture. Appreciating someone's culture is appreciating, and liking without the need to appropriate it like they have been for the past few years. And it speaks for itself. You wouldn't include a tombstone in a garden. That's how you know she's not doing it cause she appreciates the culture. She's doing it because she's using our culture as an aesthetic, and that's exactly what appropriation is.
Like I said, she only included a Zen garden because she knew she couldn't get away with making her house Asian themed. That's why all she could do was make a Zen garden. But because of her racist mindset, she appropriated the culture once again. Don't make excuses for them, like they didn't know or it's cause they like Asian culture. Again, our culture is not your aesthetic, your decor, so just stop it already.
They didn't learn ST, even though they said they educated themselves. Nothing. So what makes the BLM movement any different for them? That's why again, I don't believe their whole being against racism and fight for the BLM movement. Them posting about it are just that, post, so that people won't think they're racist and careless, but they are racist and they are careless. That's why this is the first time they're speaking up about any of this. Just like I said in my previous videos, stop with the Fkin act, it's tired and old.
Even if they say this was filmed before the BLM movement, it doesn't matter, it's not relevant, because in their getting hate video, I refuse to call it an apology cause it wasn't an apology. I may make a video on it. They said they educated themselves on Asian racism, but they still went and did all this 2 years later, showing that the whole "we educated ourselves" was all bull's tea, just like how their speech and post on BLM movement are all bull's tea. And don't say they didn't realize it was racist. They said they educated themselves on this, so they should have known, but obviously it just shows that they just didn't care, because they're ignorant, careless, and racist.
A racist person will always be racist. That's why even after 2 years later, they are still doing ST like this, even when they said they educated themselves. So when they said they were sorry, and educated themselves about Asian racism, they didn't. The fact that they are still appropriating Asian culture, shows they didn't learn ST, or they don't care, or both. If they actually truly cared, they would have changed, but they didn't. That's why again, their spiel on BLM movement is nothing but a trend to them, a show to make it look like they care when they don't.
You know, when I took that class, that's when I really realized a lot of things, even about myself, in Kpop and all this stuff, and it's just really, really sad. We've learned so many things.
And for anyone who says, stop defining them by their past, it's not their past. This video came out like a week ago, it's present, not past. Check the dates, all after December 2018, where they said they educated themselves, so they are still doing the same ST. It's not their past because they are still doing it today. So I'm not defining them by their past, I'm defining them for what they're doing now, which is still appropriating Asian culture. They didn't change because they're ignorant, and still very much racist towards the Asian community. And don't use the excuse, what is no one allowed to like other cultures? No one's allowed to appreciate other cultures? How are we supposed to love everyone, if we can't show love and appreciation for other people's cultures? How is appropriation appreciating someone's culture? Again, she put a damn tombstone in her supposed Zen garden. She didn't even learn what it was, and just said it was a shrine and laughed it off as unimportant. So how is that appreciating? That's someone's culture she was laughing at. That's not appreciation, that's appropriation. She wanted her island to have an Asian vibe, like our culture is a vibe for her, so she decides to make a Zen garden, but instead of researching and looking up the correct way, again appropriation, she just goes and looks for anything remotely Asian looking, and just puts it in there, disrespecting a damn culture. So don't use appreciation as an excuse. If she truly appreciated the culture, she wouldn't have mistaken a tombstone for a shrine. There were plenty of people, I showed examples, who made Zen gardens too, and none of them included a tombstone. And when asked what it was, she wouldn't have answered the way she did. She's rude, disrespectful, and racist. Words from Cara Lee Steele.
Racism is not okay. It was never okay. I should have educated myself. Being young is not an excuse. I should have took the stand and educated myself before saying racial things. That was my own problem, and I should have actually looked into it. I should have educated myself. Do I think people should be held accountable for saying racist things? 100%.
The difference with what she said here with the Merrell Twins is that they, the Merrell Twins, said they educated themselves on racism against Asians. So why 2 years after their fake apology, are they still being racist towards Asians, and still appropriating our culture? You know the Merrell Twins were only doing it for an aesthetic, for decor, and you know this because she put a damn tombstone in a Zen garden, and then ignorantly called it a shrine. That's how you know they weren't doing it because they appreciated or respected the culture. They were just using Asian culture as a decor, an aesthetic. And that's cultural appropriation, which is racist.
I should have educated myself. Being young is not an excuse. I should have took the stand and educated myself before saying racial things.
And don't say, it's a simple mistake that anyone would have made. No one would have mistaken a tombstone for decor if you actually did your research before using someone's culture as decor. It reminds me of when they mistaken Malaysia, a country, as a city in the Philippines, and they used the excuse of, We don't know our geography, but if you were actually Filipino, they wouldn't have mistaken it.
They do ship to the Philippines, but just only to the bigger bigger cities in the Philippines. So like Malaysia and then other big ones. And also, that's another thing I saw in the video is that our geography is not good. We have the worst geography ever.
So no, those are mistakes that are not common, unless you're ignorant and racist and just using someone's culture as your personal aesthetic, which is exactly what the Merrell Twins did here with the Zen Garden. And that's even more evidence showing how non-Asian they are. They're not Asian. And don't try to argue, why can't they have a Zen garden? It's called opening yourself to different cultures and sharing it. It's not sharing or appreciating when you're doing it wrong without proper research, and just doing whatever you please that's not even right, and basically disrespecting it, exactly like what the Merrell Twins did with the Zen garden, the Chinese-themed clothes, all of it.
What does your jumper say, Nessa? That's a great question. I don't really know what it says, to be honest.
It's like when Casey Musgraves wore the Vietnamese Idao, but she wore it disrespectfully, and Vietnamese people were not happy, and told her what she did was wrong and disrespectful to their culture. Are you going to tell Vietnamese people, well, at least she's wearing your clothes, you should be happy that she's open enough to acknowledge your culture? I'd rather them not acknowledge my culture than to disrespect it like what the Merrell Twins did.
Isn't the point that, people are expressing that they like it, and accepting it and listening to the music and singing along? Like, I think that's, very, very awesome. Even if they don't say it correctly, they're still accepting it.
Again, I'd rather them not acknowledge my culture than to disrespect it. They did. Just because you like it, doesn't give you the excuse to say, at least I like it even if I didn't research about it. That's bull's tea, and you know that. If you say you actually like and appreciate something, mostly someone's culture, even someone's name, you would take the time to learn it and research it, not just like it even if you get it wrong. If that was the case, then why does every culture get mad when people take their culture and just use it? It's because it doesn't matter if you say you like it. It shows in your actions. Are you being respectful? Do you have extensive knowledge on the culture you're using? Those are what shows people you actually like a culture. Not what the Merrell Twins did. What they did was disrespectful and racist. So no, we don't appreciate that, and that is not the point. Shake my effing head. They included a Zen garden in a video game for the sole purpose to have an Asian vibe. Again, our culture is not your vibe. And the thing that makes them worse than most other people who do this, is that they know that we Asians don't like it. We've been voicing our dislike and anger towards them for almost 4 years. But they just ignored it. Wait, they pretended to care with their fake apology, saying they're sorry and that they learned and educated themselves, but someone isn't really sorry when they still continue to do it. Which is exactly what the Merrell Twins did. So don't say they didn't know, they knew. That's why they made the fake apology in the first place, because they knew. They're just choosing to ignore it, because they're racist and are obsessed with Asians still. And this is not me saying you can't open yourself up to other cultures. But you have to do it right and respectfully. For the Merrell Twins, they never did. 1. They got into Kpop. Instead of being normal fans, they pretended to be Korean. 2. People told them to stop. They pretended to be sorry but ended up mocking us by not only not stopping, but still continued and went further by appropriating our culture, even when they said they educated themselves. That is not opening up to someone's culture, that's disrespecting and being racist to those cultures. Because their only goal was to use our culture. For their clothes, their decor, their aesthetic, because there is a right and wrong way to appreciate someone's culture, and the Merrell Twins did it wrong. So don't defend them with that bull's tea. You should be happy they're opening up to your culture. Well, I think I've made it pretty clear that I'd rather them never open up to my culture, than be so racist and disrespectful towards it. And I wanna say, if they're not going to stop, I'm not going to stop. I will keep making videos of them doing racist SD like this until they actually get the effing message. Not lie like they did last time, saying they educated themselves when really it was just all for show, and 2 years later are still appropriating our culture and being racist towards Asians. Effing stop appropriating Asian culture. Stop obsessing over Asians. How many effing times do I have to do this? Because like I said, I'm not going to stop, if they don't stop.